Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my ranking of Doctor Who Season 19. All 7 stories from the 19th season of Doctor Who, which is also the first and out of 2 full seasons to star the 5th Doctor, Peter Davison, and also first of 3 seasons, but he wouldn't complete the final season as that they decided to give the last episode to Colin Baker's 6th Doctor. A bit like how William Hartnell opened the first 2 stories of season 4, so neither he nor Patrick Troughton completed that season. So, season 19. Okay, the stories we have here are Castrovalva, To Doomsday, Kinder, The Visitation, Black Orchid, Earthshock, and Time Flight. And on reflection, this season is a weak season, but it still has its merit stories. Some pretty strong ones in fact, in some places. And no absolutely abominable stories, although there is one I absolutely despise, but that's for personal reasons rather than being bad. And there are some bad stories, but I still have a slight liking for them, or at least don't consider them absolutely diabolical. But it is, as if compared to other seasons, it would be one of the weaker ones this time round, which is a shame. This probably is the weakest first time out season for a Doctor in the classic series, and might be one of, if not, no, I think this in 24, I think 24's weaker. It would be definitely one of the weakest seasons for starting out for all of the Doctors. Say what you like about Series 11, but that was way better than this season, or season 24. So, okay, so let's jump right into this season. So, like I've gone through the stories, let's start our ranking. Number 7. Number 7 is a story people like, but I don't. That's basically the gist of it. It's Kinder. Oh, Kinder, I fucking hate this story. I really fucking hate this story. I don't know how people can like it, apart from the actual imagination bits that we do see in the story, but they're glossed, that they get pushed to the side for the less interesting stuff. And the psychological stuff that's that's done badly. I gave an example of how I think it should have developed the psychological stuff, but in actual honesty, it's just a bad story. And this is the one that got the producers impressed. This is the one that impressed the producers, and this is the one people like. That isn't Visitation or Earthshock, maybe Black Orchid on a good day. This is one people like. And they say Time Flight's the bad story of this season. God's sake, no, it's Kinder. Kinder's the... I hate this story. Check out my review for more rants about this story, but Jesus fucking Christ. Don't develop on the stuff they need to do, and they just focus on shit. There's also sexism against men. Don't worry, the next story on this list will be sexism against women, so... Oh, let's have a lot of fun. This is the 80s. This is the 80s. You should be progressing by this point. Yeah, politics in Doctor Who, so no progression. Oh, shut up. Get out of here. Beat it. Are they gone? They better be gone, because otherwise I go into a rant. Oh, fucking Kinder. You know, I'm not saying any more about this story. I mean, it's not as bad as Warrior's Gate. I'm not going to rant about Kinder as much as I would with Warrior's Gate, or Planet of Evil, Space Pirates. But my God, do I hate Kinder. I really, really hate Kinder, and I do not want you to say a single good thing about Kinder in this reaction. Sorry, in this ranking. You can say it in a comment in the review, but don't say it in this ranking. Go to the review to say something nice about it. Go to the review, comment about the story there. Otherwise, don't even talk about it. I'm banning you. I'm banning any comment that says you like Kinder, unless you're talking about the entire season, or giving your own personal ranking of the season. Then yeah, that's acceptable. But if it's just on its own, no, you have to go to the review for that. Otherwise, it's banned. Banned. Yeah, I know that's harsh, but I'm setting that rule down right now because I don't want to talk about this story anymore. I'd even rather talk about ones that are even worse, because at least I can rant about that even more. But my God, with Kinder, it's just the exact same things I got to say again on repeat. So I don't need to talk about it anymore, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. And somehow I still am. Okay, let's move on to number 6 before I carry on. Number 6 is actually one I think is okay. No, it's not. That's a lie. It's not. It's not one I think is as bad. It's To Doomsday. Okay, yeah, this one's bad, but not as bad as Kinder. And I'm not going to be going into a year-long rant about this story, which pretty much sees me repeating the same things every other week, basically. But yeah, To Doomsday is not that interesting. It's quite dull, and the stuff with and how Nyssa just and how they decide to write Nyssa out of Kinder by just having her. Oh, she caught something on the spaceship and decided to skip the next story. Yeah, I know you wanted to somehow have a quick explanation why she wasn't in Kinder, because they wrote her in for the rest of the season, but not for that story. But you could have done a better explanation than that. That's more for Kinder's fault, but the way that at the very end of this story, has her just fainting. Shit. And yeah, this story's just not that great anyway. Not a very good story. Monarch's a good villain, and his 2 associates are pretty cool. But the story itself is pretty weak and not that interesting. It's better than Kinder. It's way better than Kinder. I know you'll disagree. Again, go to the Kinder review to actually say why you like it, unless you're talking about it as part of talking about the season. But otherwise, yeah. As for To Doomsday, it's just I don't. No. It's not that good. It's not good. Number 5. Now, this is another weak story. This is another bad one. But the difference between this and To Doomsday is that I actually enjoyed this one. I actually liked and enjoyed it, or at least most of it. Time Flight. Yeah, Time Flight is bad. But it's enjoyably bad, unlike the previous 2 stories on this list. So yeah, I enjoy Time Flight. It's bad. It's dumb. I just reviewed it basically, so you can check out more about my thoughts. But basically, just bad, over ambitious story, compared to a very low budget, relative, or at least low budget for TV. Not to mention that the script itself needed a bit of a couple of rewrites, and they gloss over Adric's death, and yeah. And whilst there's some good points about it, it is very much a weak story. Should have been earlier in the season, and should have had Earthshock last, and not bother with the whole getting over grief stuff. And don't worry about Tegan departure. No, have it earlier in the story. Maybe in the Visitation to Black Orchid Gap, so you can have a sci-fi story. I mean, yeah, it is set in the past, but a sci-fi-esque story in between 2 historical-based episodes. Actually, come to think of that, then that does make Black Orchid, that does make Earthshock a gap between Black Orchid and Time Flight. But then again, I don't think Time Flight's considered a historical or pseudo-historical, even if it's set in the prehistoric times for part of the story. But yeah, Time Flight. I enjoy it, but it's still bad. Rather watch it than Kinder, though. And To Doomsday. Next. Okay, number 3 is, controversially, Castrovalva. Now, I say controversially because this one's not really that popular. It's not really that liked. And I did give it a 6 out of 10 in the review. I thought it was okay. Didn't really do much. It was a bit slow. Some good points and some enjoyable bits. And I liked how it rode on Tegan and Nyssa for quite a bit of the middle of the story, but yeah, it wasn't a complete enjoyable story. Considering post-regeneration stories of the first 4 Doctors have been pretty good, but it's actually around this point where they go downhill until we get to the TV movie, in my opinion, and till the 10th Doctor, in everybody else's opinion. And yes, I do think that's a great story. 9th Doctor doesn't have a post-regeneration story on screen, so can't comment there. Same for the 8th and War Doctor. Well, yeah, the TV movie. Same for the War Doctor. But yeah, to be honest, between Robot and Christmas Invasion, the only one I think is good is the TV movie. Although I think, okay, this one a little good, but a bit of a waste of a time. Rather watch the TV movie. So yeah, Castrovalva. It's all right. I mean, it's not going to set the world on fire. It's no spearhead from space or power the Daleks. But it's better than the next two post-regeneration stories, which we'll get to with the next two Doctors. Okay, moving on to the good stories of season 19. At last. There's 3 of them, though. There's only 3 of them, though. Damn it. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is... I think this one gets overlooked a little bit as a pop. I think people don't regard this one as much of a good one, but they might still like it, at least compared to the other stories I've listed here, apart from maybe Kinder, for some reason. But I definitely find this one a good story. I find it a pretty enjoyable story, and as a historical setting story, it's one of the best. Black Orchid. Yeah, I would say this is one of the best pure historical stories. I can't say it's one of the strongest historical stories, full stop, because there's plenty of brilliant pseudo-historicals out there, but certainly one of the strongest actual historical stories. Good plot, and it kind of is a prototype story for Unicorn and the Wasp, minus alien and celebrity, and also a jewel thief. And also the Doctor isn't a suspect in Unicorn and the Wasp, he's a detective. But this one does have that as a interesting premise, the murder mystery stuff, as well as also the fun scene with the cricket, which, like the logic with the football scene, is a chance for the actor of the Doctor to have a bit of fun with a sport he likes to play. Well, okay, with the logic was with the actor. I don't know if it's the actor here. It's certainly the Doctor. So yeah, that's cool, and yeah, and it's actually quite fun, and it's only 2 episodes. It's an easy watch. Very easy watch. Just watch it for 2 episodes. It's easy watch. Although I do think part 1 towards the end of the episode, last 7 minutes or so after the quarter of an hour mark, last 7 to 10 minutes, then it starts slowing down and maybe a little bit draggy. But then after the cliffhanger, you get to the cliffhanger, so it's okay. Then part 2 actually seems to be in a hurry to finish up, especially after halfway. So yeah, that's my real only complaint about Black Orchid. I don't know. I did give it an 8 out of 10, but my real big complaint is that part 1 is is too slow to finish, and part 2 is in too much of a hurry to get through. So yeah, if they'd been paced a little bit better, I think this one would be a better story. Oh well. Thankfully, there is another historical setting story that is better and more enjoyable. It's just not a pure historical. And that's number 2. Number 2 is The Visitation. After 2 weak stories and 1 absolutely diabolical story that I don't know how people could like, we finally got, in my opinion, Peter Davison's first good story. And what a great story we have. Great historical setting with pseudo-historical elements. Really enjoyed the story. Great supporting character with, I think his name's Sam, I can't remember. The former actor turned highwayman who accompanies the Doctor and his companions. Great story. Great. Terrapins are actually quite cool aliens. Although I do think it would have been better if they had the voice dubbed over the characters, like with the Jadoon and other characters that have animatronic heads and masks and helmets, and then you dub the voice over that. Presumably that's how they do. I mean, at least with the Daleks, although it might be dubbed over later with the in post on the new series, they still have the voice modulator there. And I think that's the same for most Nicholas Briggs voiced monsters. They have the voice modulator there, and then they have the voice in post. Actually, I think they might do that with the classic ones as well, but it's not quite as good. Actually, I don't even think they have the people on set. They might just have the guys on the reading the lines from the side without the modulator. Anyway, but point is, I think they should have put the voices of the Terrapins in post-production, so it would have been a clearer voice. And the voice we do get doesn't make them more threatening, it actually makes them a bit laughable. But that's just a nitpick. Compared to other stories we'll be talking about in this ranking, it's a nitpick. Yeah, it's a good story. It's good, fun, enjoyable adventure. I do have to say the Sonic Screwdriver kind of gets a bit abused in this story. Considering they wanted to write it out in this story, the Doctor kind of disregards it in points, thinking it's not very good, not very useful. You'd never catch Doctors 9 through 13 saying that, would you? Maybe not even 7, 8 or 7, 8 or War. Yeah, or even 2, 3 or 4. So the 5th Doctor is probably the only Doctor who doesn't really like his Sonic Screwdriver. So he's probably okay to blow up. And then doesn't replace it until his 7th incarnation, although 6 does have a Sonic Probe, but not much. It doesn't use it that much. So, yeah, and the 7th Doctor only gets around to doing it later in his life. Yeah, Doctors from 8 onwards would make sure they've always got a Sonic Screwdriver on them, even if it gets overused later down the line in the 11th, 12th and 13th Doctor's eras, especially 11 and 12s. Maybe 10s as well, arguably, but certainly more with 11 and 12, and now arguably 13. Yeah, that's a pattern, I guess. Like I said in the Visitation review, I wonder what JNT would have thought of the new series overuse of the Sonic, and compare, especially as he thought it was being overused in the 4th and 5th Doctor's eras. But overall, Visitation, good story, really, really interesting, and some pretty good fun in the middle. Just don't watch it on your computer, otherwise the computer will break down for a month and a bit. Okay, and number one is easily the best story of this season, and it's one of the 5th Doctor's best stories of all time. In fact, it's the best story that is not a special. That's 5 Doctors takes the best story of the Doctor's era for that, but as that's a special, then looking at the stories in his seasons, this is the best one. And it's the best story since City of Death, although that wasn't terribly long ago. And whilst it doesn't beat City of Death, obviously, we're not going to get that till 5 Doctors. It's still a fantastic story and an absolute classic story. Classics in it's a classic Doctor Who story. They all are up to survival. But I mean, this is one that is held in extremely high regard and is therefore a classic story. Wherefore, it's a classic Who story. As in, it's a classic, very highly regarded, very popular, classic era story of the show. And it also has the return of the Cybermen for nearly 7 years again. They like their 7-year gaps with Cybermen in the classic series. Yeah, and one has possibly the most notable companion death in the show and some biggest shocks in the series. And yeah, those are really why I think it should have been the last story of the season instead of the penultimate. Yeah, plus the fact it's so awesome and so epic, then it should have been the finale. So, and number one, I think you all know what this is, and I think you would all agree with me. Or at least most of you would anyway. And this is Earthshock. Yeah, after the shitfest of Kinder, and the not so good stuff of To Doomsday, and also Time for Out afterwards, and Castrovalva being okay, alright, and then the great The Visitation, and the good Black Orchid, and before that, the great Visitation. But what this season needed was something spectacular. Visitation came close, but it was great, but it wasn't spectacular enough. It wasn't going to be one I was going to praise as one of the best stories of all time. This, on the other hand, this story saves season 19. This is what season 17 should... Okay, actually, no, that had City of Death. Okay. Season 15 had Horror Fang Rock. You know, that proves my point. Every season's got its ups and downs. This is what I tell people about Series 11. Do they listen? Sometimes. Do they not listen? The other times. Yeah, that's the argument you can make for every season. They've got ups and downs, and season 19, this is the up. This is not only the high up, but it's the extremely high up. I mean, it's not quite City of Death level, but it's still very high. Oh, I love this story. I really love this story, and it's so enjoyable, so fun. Great final story for Adric, and he gets a really great, shocking scene. I do prefer the visual effects that they add in for the DVD, but the original one, I can forgive it. Great return of the Cybermen, especially after Revenge of the Cybermen pretty much being the destiny of the Daleks of the classic series Cybermen stories. and messing up the characters of the Cybermen and pretty much being a weak story there anyway. And after that had been before that it had been 6.5 years since the invasion, which, yeah, considering there was only that's 2 Cybermen stories ago, it's still the last great Cybermen story before Earthshock, even though it's the second to last Cyberman story before Earthshock. But because Revenge of the Cybermen was so weak, I don't want to say so bad, but so weak and definitely worthy of a rant. Mainly for the Cybermen themselves. That's because Revenge was so weak. 2 Cybermen stories ago is the last great Cyberman story, but that was still 13.5 years ago, as of time of Earthshock. So Earthshock had to go above and beyond to restore the Cybermen's name after Revenge of the Cybermen, and a massive break since a massive time gap between the invasion, with only Revenge being the in-between story. And the gap between Revenge and here was even bigger than the invasion to Revenge gap. So, yeah. So Earthshock had to go above and beyond. Not to mention season 19 in the state I've been talking about it. I mean, I like the Visitation and I like Black Orchid. The other stories, not so much, and we're going to end with a weak season finale. So this story had to go above and beyond to save the Cybermen and to save season 19 and, by extent, the 5th Doctor's era at this point. And I think it does it fantastically. Earthshock has saved the show after a potential dip in quality. I mean, yeah, season 17 is worse, but yeah, things were not looking. At least that was Tom Baker's 6th season. This is Peter Davison's 1st, so at least they were. And also, JMT had a rough first season as producer as well. So we needed something like Earthshock to kind of fix everything, even if it's not going to fix it permanently. I'm looking at you, season 20. I actually think that one might be slightly weaker as a season, even if some of the stories are better. But yeah, well, at least it's not even. Well, season 20 for me is less notable, besides the returning villains and the 5 Doctors, and besides the Black Guardian trilogy. But other than that, it's less notable. I mean, you don't get an Earthshock in that season, do you? You don't even get a Visitation. Oh, okay, Enlightenment's the closest you get. Is probably the best story of that season. That's actually really good. But yeah, but there's no Earthshock in season 20. You have to wait until season 21 for the next best thing. And that's the end of the 5th Doctor's era. Specifically his final story, discluding 5 Doctors. But yeah, Earthshock went above and beyond to pretty much save the show after a potential another dip in quality, like season 17. And to be honest, City of Death, the dip in quality of that season mostly started after City of Death. If you disclude Destiny for Daleks, then it pretty much started after City of Death. Discluding Sharda as well, by the way. Whilst there were points in season 18 where it did go up, and also parts in 19, Earthshock is where it returns on full form. The only disappointment is it's not going to stay on full form. Damn it! Honestly, I think season 22 is better than. Honestly, I think season 22 stays on form more than season 20 or 19. Oh well, we still get a fantastic individual story out of this season anyway. So that's my season 19 ranking, and I'll quickly go through it again. Number 7 is Kinder. Please say stuff about the story individually in the review. If you're going to say anything about it, make sure you're talking about it as part of the season in the ranking, otherwise your comment will be deleted. Number 6 is To Doomsday. Number 5 is Time Flight. Yeah, I enjoy it, but it's still bad. Number 4 is Castrovalva. Number 3 is Black Orchid, one of the stronger historical completely historical stories. Number 2 is The Visitation, Peter Davison's first good story, in my opinion. And number 1, Earthshock, the best story since City of Death. And the best Cyberman story since the invasion, which, well, didn't have much competition. It was the Revenge of the Cybermen or nothing. And it's never going to be Revenge of the Cybermen, so nothing, I guess. And yeah, rocking story. Yeah, and despite what I said about season 20, I'm still looking forward to seeing the recurring villains. Omega in Arc of Infinity, the Mara. Okay, I'm not looking forward to that one. In Snake Dance, the Black Guardian in Mordred Undead, Terminus, and Enlightenment. Thrown in some other recurring villains for one or two of those stories as well, just for good measure, and the Master in the King's Demons. But of course, They were also supposed to have a Dalek story that year, but due to strike action, okay, that's worse than the Snake Dance, it was pushed back to season 21 and became Resurrection of the Daleks. Not Remembrance of the Daleks, that's later. And then, of course, we've got the Five Doctors. Okay, that makes up for the Black Guardian trilogy. All three Black Guardian trilogies having one villain for all three of them and not having a few others in those stories for good measure. Five Doctors. That's the Day of the Doctor of the classic series. It's a massive bang wank, and my goodness, does it do it in a fantastic way. Anyway, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching this ranking, and I'll see you guys next time for the start of season 20, which will be starting with Arc of Infinity. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Always start off a ranking with a sip of water. And the same for all the other stories I've ranted about. Every rant. Okay, I'm not going to check all of them, but I'll know if you've done Kinders. Or, I'll definitely know all the latest comments anyway. Again, go to review for reason. To go to the okay, season 19 story 3, third play. Just don't watch on your computer, otherwise it will make the computer will as in it's a classic as in it's a classic era, as in it's a classic, very popular, very high regarded classic. And this is, of course, the return of the sun. And yeah, this is why another reason why I wanted to. And yeah, that's really mainly why I wanted to think that. And yeah, those are really my